it's starting.
Hello.
I am so pleased. This is the first interview of the artists who are participating in the Spade and Spatula shows. It's a long time coming collaboration between all of the things and people I love on the mountain. I'm here in the Crestline Creatrix Matrix, sitting at the table you brought to me, where you have sat opposite, and we have made art for 4 years together now.
Oh my goodness. Wonderful. Wonderful.
You are Laurel Antur, making these amazing pieces that I'm madly in love with, from this mythopoetic, marvelous, all the ways that you bring alive the things that can only be seen through your artistry. And I am madly in love with the work. And every time you make new pieces, it reaches me at such a deep soul level. And that's what I think that you are putting on your canvas. Like, I think it's so beautiful. So we are showing a number of pieces from different phases in your life. And I want you just to talk about the work that people can see at Spade and Spatula in this Mountain Pride Freedom to Be exhibition.
So I'm trying to remember which pieces I included.
So I am most moved by, because I think in part you maybe made a few of them here, but the
I did, for sure.
pieces,
yeah,
are just like reminding me of what we have lived through.
yeah. I definitely work intuitively and try to let what wants to come through. Earlier in my work, I had more like the archetype, if you will, would come from like an outside source. Like I have a lot of artwork that has women with horns, the stag women, and that was from an expressive art therapy workshop that I had done. And I just kept playing with that archetype, and it had a lot of meaning for me about like masculine and feminine energies and motherhood and how I express my femininity. And so that was a lot of the meaning for that. And then there's, other characters like the horsewoman, which was what the first one, and she's really evolved. And that started from a really vivid dream I had of a zebra being born in this mud hole. And I intended, originally they were supposed to be zebras, and I'm like, I don't really want to draw zebra stripes all the time. But I also have a lot of I'd have the dreams of like horses in the basement or something like that. So it made sense that it was the horse, and then the rabbit, which is kind of an inner child character. And I just had this like little mini pantheon that was deeply meaningful and healing for me to work with and through. And then I went through a period where they felt spent, I guess. They had like worked their magic, and I didn't know what else was there. And so a lot of the energies that I finally started working with were kind of insecty, like bees. And I had this story sounds kind of crazy, but I had this moment a really long time ago where I had these two mirrors set up in the corner of my studio, and there was this little gnat like kind of buzzing in between. And I just had this moment of identifying with it, I guess, where it was like, and just how infinite these two mirrors must have seemed. And just, and it was just this really, really minor but meaningful little tiny thing. And so some of the things that have been coming through have been like just little and kind of like, ew, gross, I hate insects. There's that element of shunning. So anyway, back to the snow figures. They're kind of like a morph of all of that. You know, they sort of like they have the kind of the horse legs and the sort of insect body, and they're not really anything other than just being kind of a a little bit of like a pathetic, not pathetic, but kind of pathetic creature that's sort of trying to figure itself out. And it has a little bit of like dog energy to me too. And
I
oh,
feel them.
go ahead.
I feel them so as fairy and magical and spirit of and so I love hearing, you know, what I project against what you're perceiving as you're creating. I think that's also fascinating.
That's my
And
favorite part about art.
say more about that. Your favorite.
Just that, like, it is what it is for me, and then when I put it out in the world, it is what it is for you, and that I don't have to control people's um, interaction with it or what they get from it. It's for them to have whatever experience they have.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love the horsewoman, and then there's a fish head person. There's
Yeah.
something deeply mythopoetic and metaphysical and marvelous and somewhere between um fairies and sprite. I don't know. There's something that I think is unique to the forest we live in that comes out in your work.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of these more recent pieces started in the coven that I'm in. We for a while we're working with like Earth allies, and one of the other women was working with bee energy, and we did like a guided visualization where we would meet with the energies. We made these cards, and so it was, you know, someone else brought that energy into the group, and then I just met it, and I had this visualization of this creature that was made out of honeycomb sitting in a tree, like kind of like it moves like once a year.
Yeah. Yes.
and
Yes.
and it just had it was like this like symbiotic relationship with the bees, and he kind of helped them move and protected them, and then they, you know, he was made of them. And do I have it up here? Yeah.
E-Man. Yes.
E-Man. Yeah. And I struggled with how to draw him because he was so like three-dimensional in the visualization and really detailed. I was really tired of trying to illustrate things. And yeah, this piece was good to make because it helped me just make it. It doesn't have to be, you know, like three-dimensional and really good. Just capture it.
Lovely. Talk about you are certified expressive arts
Uh,
person.
a facilitator. Yeah,
Okay.
certified
What is
expressive.
that for people who don't know, and what does it do, and how do you know you want to
Yeah.
dive into expressive arts? Like, I know, but
Yeah. Well, I've been thinking about that a lot because I think people come to it for different reasons. But basically, what it is it has the word therapy in it, so people immediately go to psychotherapy, and it's adjacent to that, but it is not psychotherapy. It's therapy in the way that there's color therapy and like what's that scent therapy called, and massage therapy. Like it's just something that makes you feel better,
yeah,
and it can be used, you know, in a psychotherapeutic way by people who are qualified, um, but it isn't art therapy. And what makes it unique is that it uses all of the art modalities: visual, movement, sound, writing, and theater. Not all at once, but you move through them. So the thing that I've been thinking about this particular thing a lot. Uh, like as an example, a very like life-changing example for me. was like we made these paintings that were based on our traced body, and then we had to, you know, paint them into something. And I made mine into like a scuba diver in this like really murky water that was from another dream. The thing I hate about getting older is I don't seem to have dreams as vivid as I did when I was younger, and it bums me out. Like I feel like I'm still like kind of mining stuff from my youth. But anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. So yeah, so I just had this really vivid dream about this building with this blue sky, and it was like this modern architecture, and there was this pool that had been neglected, and it was this vivid like algae green. And in the dream, I was doing a lot of dream journaling at the time, and in the dream I had this camera, and I was taking a picture because it was the blue and the green and the white of the building. And through the camera, I saw these men like come out of the algae, and they like pointed at me and started running for me. And I was always so enchanted by that. It was such a cool, creepy dream to have. And anyway, so I was just kind of working with that in this painting. And then the next day, the facilitators had our paintings hung gallery style with beautiful lighting, and she and her husband improvised music inspired by each piece. And then the other participants moved to the piece. So you stood next to your piece, listening to this music of your art interpreted and watching people interpret what they were seeing through movement. And it was, I can't even, like, it was just, I mean, I'm sure I was crying. Like, it was so moving to be seen, and not just, oh, I love your painting, but like, this is how I'm experiencing your painting in a non-verbal way. It was really super cool. So that's an example of, you know, it started with a painting, and then we moved through music and movement, and then we did writing based on it. And so you're kind of taking some central thing and moving through it. And it can be, you know, something where you're working through something psychological. But for me, there was some of that, but it was always much more like, where am I going? And much more forward. What's, you know, what am I getting tangled in as I try to move forward in time? And that's always how I preferred to use it, but also just for its own sake of just having this really deep and meaningful, and honestly really simple and unskilled experience of creativity with others.
Yes.
That
group thing is really, really, really beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been talking in our years together about growing creative community, and how do we do that up here where we live. And this is a next step, I think. We've done things at your house, at my house, in different spaces in Crestline, and now in Blue Jay, we have this restaurant that's available, that's having open mics and a chance to share poetry and a chance to do movement. And people are seeing the work, feeling the work, and wanting, I hope, to make some. You know, that's where my love is in the making some. But I also love to make art collectors, you know, and people who love and appreciate and want to live with and grow with and expand with the art and what that brings them. Do you have some feeling for art collect? Like, what feels good when someone collects your work?
That it transports them to an otherworldly, liminal space. So it's kind of, I guess, akin to a spiritual experience of like that kind of dreamscape sort of mystery of life.
I think so many of the characters you make are ones you can create narrative for, you can grow with over time. It means one thing in the moment of its meeting, and it somehow grows with whatever else is happening in the space around it, and how it plays or talks to other pieces of work. That's kind of what's happening in the gallery now. I call it a gallery. I know it's a restaurant, but the food is really good and it comes out on plates and looks like art, but the art is playing really well with the other art in the space.
Yeah.
Your work, particularly with Lindian, is doing those pieces of melted time, and then Lisa Rasmussen is offering images of the moon and the goddess, like that. You know, like that. But your work lives in, it ignites, like animates all of that, gives it creatureness somehow.
Cool.
Which I'm totally loving. And super fun to be there. You are doing, when you talked about the experience of having your work come alive in that expressive arts experience that you had, you just recently and last year, I know, like, did some live painting with music last year, and then you did that again in a collaboration of your own. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I kind of, I was just talking about my dad with this, like, you know, the lonely artist and the defensive artist. And you know, like when I was in college and taking lots of art classes, I went to a school that, like, everyone there was, you know, of course there was, like, you know, some feeling of rivalry and wanting a little more attention than other people and all that, but in general we were really supportive of each other's work and interested in what people were doing. And then, you know, once you're out of school, that stuff really dries up, and it can be, I found it really difficult to find places to be with other artists in a supportive way. I've struggled with that up here, mostly because I have a little bit of social anxiety, and it makes it, you know, I feel much better about that now. But for a long time, there was just this. I just felt really protective of myself, um, and I think a lot of people. I feel myself like kind of qualifying what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to say that I've had a lot of negative experiences up here of being pretty outright rejected because of my, you know, being bisexual and being a pagan and being liberal. You know, it's changed significantly in the 22 years that I have lived here, but I've been very protective because of how I was received when I first moved here. And that didn't help, you know, but now I definitely am finding, you know, we're building a network of others and of, like, safety and caring and community. And it's hard to get used to it. It's hard to trust it, you
Mm.
know, because
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. It could, because then you have to deal with people, and sometimes people don't get along, and but I'm realizing how much I want it and how important it is, and that I can be part of creating these safe spaces and establishing some guidelines for how to be with each other in a really nurturing, caring way.
Thank you for bridging us to all of that. Thank you so much. We opened the shows. Everybody can make art for the shows, but we're asking specifically for LGBTQIAPN plus folks and their allies, because of, in light of and because of that flag that got Lori killed last year. Like,
Yeah,
if we can't be allies for one another,
yeah,
symbolic ways, and live, how could we be ourselves and live up here like that? Like
yeah,
that has to be,
everyone should have access to freedom, you know,
yeah, freedom to be.
liberation.
And that's the beauty of the mountain. I think people have the freedom to be wherever they are on any spectrum, but just allow your neighbors to stay alive. That's all.
Yeah,
they,
yeah,
they may or may not believe the same things, or experience and express love in the same way, but they have a right. We all each
absolutely.
have our
Yeah,
a right to be ourselves, and then to get to survive as ourselves, I think is super important. And so that's not a subtext at Spade and Spatula. That's Bev is queer and a queer chef. It's not queer food, it's human food for all humans. And it's extending the spirit of love and nourishment and putting good stuff on the inside and seeing good stuff on the outside, so that there's a little more room around what we may or may not understand about each other. And so if we can open a space where there's conversation that's possible, and I think art and poetry and music and movement and expression, free expression can do that, and free and full expression. And I can love, honor, and respect anybody's level of free and full expression. Just don't inflict it. In my direct, like if it's not my thing, like I can honor your poetry, put it in a song. Let me see the movement of that, but put the guns down when you go outside. Don't bring them with you. It's not useful to a restaurant or to loving people like that. So we are doing this thing this year to honor Lori and to hopefully expand some conversations, let folks meet one another in a space of more love, more room, more acceptance, more possibility. And I know, just in the 4 years I've been here, I feel like I've seen some shifting of behaviors and attitudes that make me feel safer to be here. But I moved here to make safe space available here. And I don't know, you're a high school art teacher also. So these spaces where kids are putting themselves together, safe space matters.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
And art has a role, does something, heals, maybe makes possible.
Can you hear the water going? Should I shut that off? Okay.
No.
I
have pings on this side. So we're just going to have ambient noise that makes it look like we're living our lives.
I think a podcast that I listened to called Weird Studies was talking about, it was like in praise of pretension and kind of creating your own safe space to become the person you want, and I think that's art that's an amazing thing that it does, is it gives us a space to expand our understanding of who we are. And that's when it's really powerful to me, is that I'm expanding into this sort of liminal, imaginal realm, but it trickles into my day-to-day life and how I interact with people and how I show up. And I love that about it.
I love that about it too. And I think your life is rich and very, like, based on what comes on the canvas, like these are creatures you can have relationship with and learn and know, or they just come through, they land, and you let them be in the world to do their thing. And I love having the work available for people to get to see and interact with, and what it sparks inside them. I think it's just beautiful. We have a couple minutes left, and I want to focus on what you're doing now, because I think what you're offering now to people is a really, really beautiful and important series of services that can open individuals to their own ways of knowing. And I'm curious what you would want to say.
I'm trying to find the right word to. I'm playing with the word guide right now. Because I'm not really teaching. Like, it's more about helping you, like asking good questions. It's kind of like coaching, there is some like advice in there. But I think mostly it's just kind of guidance for people to explore their creativity wherever they are at. If they are interested in, like, if what I have been talking about my experience of how I work and the depth is appealing, that's the kind of person I want to work with. Like, I'm not very good at helping people make art that's going to sell. I'm not that kind of a creativity coach. It's more that just deep presence and inwardness and expression that some people really struggle with, like they're like, oh, it has to be realistic, or what colors do I use? And it's hard for them to just express without putting a lot of rules on it. And that's what I want to help people break through.
That's beautiful.
In my stuff.
It's beautiful. How do people find your stuff?
So my website is laurelantur.com, and I have quite a few free things on there. I have a workshop for exploring personal connection to color. So there's one for blue right now, and it's like a course, and it goes through what materials to use and all of that, and it has some writing. It's an expressive arts exploration. I have an ebook for like an introduction to intuitive painting. I have another little mini course for what's the word? Like dialoguing with your work to find more meaning in it. And then my latest thing is for people who are a little bit more established in their art practice, who like maybe they keep exploring things and are sort of chasing the shiny thing, and they want to focus in and do a more focused body of work exploring one idea. So that's a little bit more of an advanced thing. So there's stuff for wherever you're at in your creative journey.
I love that so much. Who should reach out to you? Who are the people that will really find tremendous value in what you're offering to them?
I think people who want to explore themselves through creativity, through painting and writing, or if they're curious about music, like they just have that itchy thing that they want to get out. They kind of want to do multiple things, and they like the idea of sort of churning through something to understand it more deeply.
Beautiful. Beautiful. What would you say to your mountain people when you're asking them to look at the work, to receive the work, to come to Spade and Spatula and enjoy what we're doing?
Just have an open mind to how beautiful other humans are who experience life differently. Like, what a joy to be around this variety of experiences. And the mountain attracts really special people. And I want to meet them.
Well, your work will be up in this first exhibition till July 12th. And then the next exhibition, Hot on the Mountain, hot with lots of teas, will open July 13th. And I'm hoping that you keep playing with us in all the ways, and that we keep playing with you to expand the offerings and experiences there. Thank you for your time, Laurel. Thank you for being a part of everything that's dear to my heart and my life on this mountain.
Thank you for doing this and providing this opportunity for us.
It is joy. I'm going to stop our recording now.
Okay.